Look, we've all been there. It's 11:30 p.m. You're scrolling through your phone, maybe you had a stressful day at work, and suddenly, there it is. An ad for that new ergonomic chair, or a pair of sneakers that look exactly like the ones you didn't need 3 months ago. You tell yourself, I deserve this. You click. You see the "order confirmed" screen. And for about 12 seconds, you feel amazing. You get that little hit of dopamine. But then, 3 days later, the box arrives at your door, and you feel nothing. Or worse, you feel that slight pit in your stomach because you know that $200 just pushed your emergency fund goal another month into the future. If that sounds like you, don't feel bad. You're literally fighting a billion-dollar industry designed to make you feel that way. But here's the thing, the ultra-wealthy don't have better willpower than you. They just have a better system. My name is Mike, and I spend way too much time thinking about the psychology of how we spend our hard-earned money. If you're someone who feels like your paycheck is leaking out of your bank account before you even have a chance to save it, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, I want to talk about the 75-hour cooling rule. Now, you might be thinking, Mike, another savings hack. Really? But look, this isn't about skipping your morning coffee. This is about rewiring the way your brain processes desire versus utility. Most people think wealth is built by making more money. Here's what most people don't realize. Wealth is actually built in the gap between the moment you want something and the moment you buy it. Before we get into the psychology, we have to look at the numbers. Because the numbers don't have feelings, and they don't care about your excuses. According to a recent study by S&P Global, the average American spends roughly $314 per month on impulse purchases. That's nearly $3,800 a year. Now, if you take that $314 and you put it into a boring S&P 500 index fund averaging 10% annually, over 30 years, that, oops, I bought it on Amazon, habit costs you, wait for it, $710,000. Think about that. You aren't just buying a $50 gadget. You are literally trading a comfortable retirement for a piece of plastic that's going to end up in a landfill in 3 years. This is where it gets really interesting. The ultra-wealthy understand opportunity cost better than anyone else. They don't see a $1,000 iPhone. They see the $10,000 that 1,000 could become in a decade. So, what is the 75-hour cooling rule? It's incredibly simple, yet almost nobody does it. The rule is this: for any non-essential purchase over a specific threshold, let's say $50, you must wait exactly 75 hours before hitting buy. Why 75 hours? Why not 24 or 48? Because 24 hours is just a sleep on it, period. You can still be in the emotional hangover of wanting that item the next morning. 48 hours is better, but it still fits within a weekend binge. 75 hours, that's 3 days and 3 hours, forces the purchase to cross over into a different brain state. It forces you to move from your amygdala, the emotional, I want it now part of your brain, to your prefrontal cortex, the logical, do I actually need this part? Here's the science. When you see something you want, your brain releases dopamine. But dopamine isn't the chemical of pleasure, it's the chemical of anticipation. Once you buy the item, the dopamine drops. This is why you feel buyer's remorse. The 75-hour rule exploits a phenomenon called hedonic adaptation. By waiting 75 hours, you allow that initial dopamine spike to level off. You're essentially boring yourself out of a bad financial decision. Now, you might be thinking, Mike, rich people buy whatever they want. They don't wait 75 hours. Actually, that's where you're wrong. Look, I'm not talking about the Instagram wealthy who lease Lumbos to sell you a course. I'm talking about the actually wealthy. The people with 8 or 9 figures in the bank. They use a framework I call the utility test. Consumers ask, can I afford the monthly payment? The wealthy ask, Does this asset provide more value than the capital it consumes? Let's do some quick math. Let's say you want a $3,000 mountain bike. A consumer sees $3,000 and thinks, I have $3,500 in my checking, I'm good. A wealthy person applies the 75-hour rule. During those 75 hours, they calculate the cost per use. If you use that bike 10 times a year for 2 years, that's $150 per ride. If you realize that, suddenly the must-have item looks like a massive liability. The 75-hour window gives you the time to run these numbers without the fog of war created by marketing. I can hear the comments already. But Mike, what if it's a flash sale? It ends in 4 hours. I'll miss the deal. Look, I'm going to be blunt. A deal on something you didn't plan to buy is just a 100% loss of the money you spent. Retailers use scarcity and urgency because they know if they give you 75 hours, you won't buy it. They are literally weaponizing your own psychology against you. If a deal is so fragile that it disappears before you can think about it rationally, it wasn't a deal, it was a trap. I remember a mentor of mine, a guy who is worth probably $50 million. He wanted this specific vintage watch. It was $10,000. He could have bought 10 of them with the cash in his pocket. He told me he put a picture of the watch on his fridge and waited not 75 hours, but 30 days. He said, Mike, if I still want it as much in 30 days as I do today, I'll buy it. But usually, by day 4, I've forgotten why I wanted it in the first place. He ended up not buying the watch. He took that $10,000 and bought a distressed REIT instead. 2 years later, that $10,000 was paying him $800 a year in dividends, forever. That's the difference. I don't just want you to watch this and nod your head. I want you to change your life. Here is how you implement the 75-hour cooling rule starting right now. First, the basket rule. When shopping online, you can add anything you want to the cart. But you are forbidden from clicking checkout. Leave the tab open. Close the laptop. Second, the price threshold. Set your number. For most people, I recommend $50. Anything over 50 requires a 75-hour wait. Third, the Notes app strategy. Keep a list on your phone titled the 75-hour list. Write the item, the price, and the time you found it. And finally, the reality check. After 75 hours, go back to the list. Ask yourself, will this item make me money, save me time, or bring me genuine joy a year from now? If the answer isn't a hell yes, it's a no. Here's where it gets really interesting. This rule isn't actually about the money. It's about internal locus of control. Most people are reactive spenders. The world shows them an ad, and they react. The 75-hour rule makes you proactive. It proves to your subconscious that you are the boss of your money, not the marketing department at Apple or Amazon. When you start winning these small battles, you build a financial muscle. That muscle is what eventually allows you to save for a house, invest in a business, and eventually, reach a point where you don't have to check your bank account before you go out to dinner. Look, at the end of the day, your bank account is just a scoreboard for how well you managed your emotions in the past. Every time you bypass the 75-hour rule, you are essentially stealing from your future self to give a gift to a giant corporation. You are trading your freedom, your actual, literal time on this earth, for stuff. Stop doing it. Apply the 75-hour rule this week. Just try it once. I promise you, the feeling of not buying something you didn't need is actually a higher high than the one you get from the purchase itself. It's the high of being in control. If you found this helpful, do me a favor, leave a comment below and tell me the last thing you almost bought but realized you didn't need. I read as many of those as I can. Go out there, be intentional with your money, and I'll see you in the next one.